MBA Prep channel. I have with me Dheeraj Jain. He is an alumnus of FMS, the same alma mater as mine. And today he is going to give you a talk about how MBA preparation, what after MBA, etc. Okay, so welcome Dheeraj to the session.
Thank you so much, Pranav, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so let's start the talk. So these aspirants were eager to hear from you. So they've been waiting. They saw your short story and were eager to for this session. So Dheeraj, let's start with something a very generic thing that people often talk about. Why MBA, right? So people give different reasons for MBA. So what was your reason to do an MBA?
I think for me, it was a very definite choice because I'm a commerce graduate. So post-commerce, there are two obvious fields that comes to your mind. First is chartered accountancy and second is MBA. So I was not more interested into audit. I was more interested into finance and business side of the thing. So I thought an MBA made more sense for me, more so because I had almost 3 years of experience after my graduation, which allowed me to understand what is the line of business that I want to work in. And it was very clear to me that I wanted to be an entrepreneur after my MBA as well. And that's what I did. So I think that's the clarity of thought that an MBA program allows you to get of life. What is it that you want to pursue as a career, as a person, and throughout your life? That's something very, very important, that it's a short-term decision. A job change is something that anybody can do. But an MBA program allows you to bring that vision into your life, that what is it that you want to do even at the age of 65.
Yeah, so you had complete clarity about what you wanted to do in the life, and then you chose to do an MBA. And your prior, as you said, you were a commerce graduate, so that was one of the obvious paths. That was the most one of the preferred paths by commerce graduates. Okay, so there is a lot of buzz about preparation and all those things, right? That's fine that we prepare these students for MBA, we teach them quant, DILR, verbal ability, everything. But what matters the most during the MBA actual, if you talk about the final stage of conversion, that is the interview stage, they often look for some specialities in the candidates. So can you elaborate on those things that people generally just prepare for CAT, right? They focus target only CAT, which is important. That is one stage that you need to clear. But at the same time, you also have to prepare yourself for the interview rounds. So what are some of the things that a candidate must do in order to crack that portion?
See, Pranav, I'll tell you something very honestly. The fact is, if you see the admission process of most tier 1 B schools today, the percentage weightage that they provide to CAT scores has been decreasing over the years. And that's in line with the global MBA admission process that Indian B schools are trying to become and trying to adjust to. So what we see is more and more there is weightage towards academics, there's weightage towards your work experience, and there's weightage towards personality. So I'll break these into three parts. First is academics, second is work experience, and third is your personality. So academics is something that most of us cannot change, right? So if you've screwed up your 10th and 12th, there is nothing much that you can do. But currently, if you're pursuing your graduation and preparing for CAT, the first and foremost thing that you should keep in mind is that your graduation score has to be the highest possible that you can get even in the final year. Because this is something most important, and that will play a very crucial role in every admission process, whether it's explicitly stated or whether it's implicit. That's the personality impression that you would give in the admission interview. Because when people are judging you, the admission committee of any college judges you, they would judge you on the basis of your academic profile. You have to remember that all of them are professors. They have a very strong bias towards people who do well academically. So if you have a strong academic profile, they're bound to have a subconscious bias towards a person who has better academics compared to a person who has absolutely disastrous academics. So it's something that should be the first priority. If I say second thing, that is work experiences. Of course, the quality of experience, the kind of work experience that you get is not just important for your MBA, but it's also important for you to understand that what kind of career interest, what domain expertise you want to build in your career. So because when you enter an MBA program, the competition is very stiff. If you do not have a clarity of thought in terms of what you want to pursue, is it finance, marketing, strategy, operations, supply chain, what is the career that interests you? Because when you're in graduation, there are a lot of times that you do maybe a 2-month internship and then you feel that, okay, I have strong interest in finance and I want to be a finance guy. But if you do a 2-year experience in finance, then maybe you realize that maybe finance is not your calling, or maybe there are certain specific elements in finance that you have particular interest in. You might not have interest in audit or taxation, but you have interest in investment banking or financial services consulting. So that is something that you can understand only when you have work experience. And that experience also allows you to present your case better as to why do you want to become an MBA and why is it that you want to choose any particular sphere in an MBA. The third, of course, is your personality. So let's say you do not have academics in place, you're planning to go fresh without any work experience into an MBA program. So there is one thing that plays the most important program is your personality. So if you have strong communication skills, if you have strong leadership skills, if you have gained a lot of experiences in your life. So when I say experiences, what does it mean? If you have interned in a lot of companies, worked for a lot of NGOs, done a lot of online courses, done a lot of freelancing work, these sort of experiences allow you to build your personality, gain that confidence that you can talk in terms of numbers, you can talk in terms of interest, not based on random internet articles, but based on your personal life experiences that you can then share in terms of stories to the admission committee in the MBA interview. And that I feel is the most important judgment criteria for any admission committee. Somebody who comes in the interview table and says that I love finance because I just feel it, I have a gut feeling. And somebody who comes in the interview table and says that I love finance because I have done a lot of online courses on finance. I have done a few certification courses from NSC. I was a treasurer of certain committees in my college. And I've also interned in a few finance companies during my graduation. The kind of answer that first person gives and the second person gives is very different and has a very different impact on your admission scores and the interview scores. So your personality is by far the heaviest thing that you can build. You cannot build it in a day. You have to spend a minimum of a year to build it.
Yeah, so well said, Ritesh. You talked about that you need to build your personality because, of course, the competition is very stiff. People talk about that I got 99.x% and everyone is getting. I mean, we have thousands of candidates and they have to choose a few hundred. So obviously, you should have something in special that would make you stand out of the crowd. And that is like obvious since the professors are academicians, so they would be biased towards academics, followed by your personality. Like if you have whatever you say in the interview should have weight, as you rightly said that a person who just goes and says that I have interest in finance without having like any in-depth knowledge of the subject won't work, right? So so that was about getting into an MBA, right? Now people assume that that's an assumption by of a lot of people, and they believe that once you get into the top B schools your life is set, right? But that is not the case. You have experience, I have that experience, so why don't you throw some light on it, that the real challenge begins once you get into those top B schools.
You know, Pranav, there's a popular joke, the only way that your life is set is in the deathbed. At nowhere else, at no other place, your life will ever be set. You will always be facing challenges. You will be always faced by uncertainties, just like the one we are facing right now in this pandemic, right? A lot of MBA students are having their campus life in the midst of their homes, right? They have to take their classes from their homes. They're doing their internships from their houses. They are not able to get any corporate exposure, any industry visits, anything that you would typically expect from an MBA program. So these kind of uncertainties will always be there. The fact is the pandemic has shown this. So are you prepared for these uncertainties? The fact is somebody who has work experiences, somebody who's already honed his communication skills, his leadership skills would have handled this pandemic working from home far better than somebody who has never faced such challenges in life. And that's what this pandemic has taught us. So it's extremely important to understand that once you are into a B school, your life is going to be way more tougher. Because as soon as you enter the B school, in most tier 1 colleges, you are just into the competition for the summer placements, right? So your summer placements happen in all tier 1 B schools from October to November. So as soon as you join the college in July or June, you're just preparing randomly and madly for your summer placements. You just don't have the time to breathe and introspect. What kind of career interest do you want to pursue, and does your personality and profile even have the caliber and potential to match those career interests? So I might be interested in investment banking, but the fact of the matter is, even in top tier B schools from I'm ABC to FMS, Delhi to XLRI, Jamshedpur, there are very few front end investment banking roles that are available. So will I get that profile? That is the first question that I have to ask myself. If I'm preparing for investment banking, but I do not have the academic profile, work experience, and personality to get selected, I have absolutely no chance. It is not a good idea to be mad about a career interest without understanding if you would be able to convert it. Similarly, it's important to understand that if you feel that there are certain chance, what is the probability of you succeeding in getting into a particular job or into a particular field and you loving it? Because it's a good chance, because there are a lot of companies that campus interviews provide you opportunity to get into, but would you love to work for those companies? That is something that you have to figure out right now, because once you're into the B school, you get into that mad race to get a placement, get a summer internship, get a final placement for yourself, and you would never be able to introspect, breathe, think that do I really want it, or do I have the potential and caliber to work on this industry, this company for, let's say, at least 5 years. If that's not what you will be able to do, then you have to introspect right now.
Yeah, so agree that as soon as you enter the B school, your life becomes even hard. Like it's a fierce competition. The rat race begins there, and you have to fight among the aspirants. So there are a lot of candidates within your batch who will be fighting for the same job role, same company, and you have to fight with them. And then some succeed in that, and the others have to be satisfied at what placements they get into. However, let's talk about some of the good the light sides of MBA. Once you are done with the first year, towards the second year, it's on the lighter side. For some of the ones who have already got PPOs, who have done exceptionally well in the internship, they get the PPOs. The life becomes slightly chill for the second year. So let's talk about that also, because we should not threaten these students that it's all just fight. It's yes, competition is there, but there is some good side as well. So what are the good sides of MBA? I mean, that people generally enjoy.
I think one of the best things about an MBA program is it allows you to make some brilliant friends from some of the most diverse fields of life. Not only in your B school, but also in other B schools, because you go out for a lot of B school competitions, you meet people from different industries, from different experiences, from different states, and you get to learn a lot from them. That's the moment of life where, if you're working in a corporate environment, you might be having 10 people in your company who are better than you, but they won't be spending time to teach you anything because they are paid to do their work and not to teach you. But if you're in a B school, you have the privilege of spending time with the country's brightest and most brilliant people who you can make your friends, who can become your lifelong network. And these are the people who can give you access to knowledge, experiences that probably you never had. For example, I was from commerce background, so I could provide exposure and a lot of experiences from the commerce side, whereas my friends from different engineering backgrounds would provide me experiences and share their knowledge from technology and different backgrounds which I never had. This is the time in second year that you bond with your friends. The bonds that you build through the first year by firefighting, that's the bonds that you enjoy in the second year by participating in case competitions, by going out on trips, by going for exchange terms, by just randomly hanging around at the middle of the night. That's the life that you enjoy. That's because for most people, that will be the last official degree that you will be pursuing, right? That's a post-graduation. So you'd also want to make sure that while you're planning for your career and working really hard, you also make the best of friends that would stick by you in thick and thin.
Yeah, so rightly said that like in the initial few days you could be fighting with your friends, but as time progresses, you build very good bonds with your batchmates, your seniors, your juniors, and in the first year, of course, you will have seniors, and in the next year you will have juniors. So you would build a very good network with your batchmates, your juniors and seniors, as well as your alumnus. We do have regular alumni meets. I'm sure like the next time we'll have it, and we'll meet someday that alumni meet. So you build a very good network. That is one of the reasons why MBA is important, right? You get to know different people from different walks of life, and one of the most brilliant brains in the country. So that is one part of it. So, Ritesh, post MBA, like most of the people, they do MBA and get into corporate life, but you chose to be an entrepreneur. So, was that something you had thought beforehand, or like during an MBA you got the thought that no, I should not take up a corporate job, instead rather I should start something on my own?
So I did take a corporate job. So I was placed with HSBC as an investment banker from FMS. But I decided, I was pretty sure that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But it happens that during MBA, you always have that attraction that there is a fixed salary, there's a fixed job, there is a good life that you can always try. So you always have that attraction that diverts your attention. So I also had that diversion, or you can say distraction for me, and I took the job. But yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, I made up my mind that I want to do something of my own, and I declined the final offer, but started Regraduate, which is a B2B advisory firm that we currently run. So therein we are providing advisory services to corporates and helping them find the right talent through executive search, and we are also providing B2B advisory services to colleges to help them upgrade their placement infrastructure and architecture.
Okay. So yeah, so that's what I mean. There are people who have that in their mind, that they want to pursue their own entrepreneurship. So that's what you did. So how did your MBA help in this?
So I'll say in three ways. The first and foremost, of course, because we did our MBA from FMS Delhi, we did not have any student loan. There was virtually no burden on my back to think about that. What if I fail? What if the startup does not succeed? There was no liability on my back. So it meant that I was completely free to live a life of my choice. That I think is the biggest advantage that FMS provides you, that no other MBA in the country does. So you always have the freedom to choose what you want to do in life. And that's why we see there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are coming out of FMS. There are a lot of people who go for UPSC after an MBA. That's something very unique to the culture and I'd say the fee structure of FMS provides us. The second I will say is the most important fact is because FMS is situated in the center of the city, that's in Delhi, while most these schools are situated on the outskirts of the city. So it provided us a very good exposure of corporates, bureaucrats, and industry as a whole. While I was at FMS, I was able to interact with a lot of corporates, with a lot of startup founders, which provided me the right mindset and the right inclination that yes, there is something that I want to do in life is not a corporate job, but something of my own. Even if I do not succeed, that is perfectly fine, because you have to accept the fact that no matter how hard you work in a startup, there is always a 90% chance that your startup will fail, especially in times like ours. So that because when I was in FMS, that is the batch of 2017, we had demonetization, one of the biggest disasters that had really bad impact on the economy, bad impact on placements. But we learned that these things keep happening and you have to just sail through them with a calm and composed mind. The third and most important thing that I learned in FMS is that we hear a lot about technology changes. We hear a lot about automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. But there is one thing that machines, automation, and all the technology in the world can never do, and that's human relations. Human beings like to do business with human beings. We all have our own set of biases. And if there is one thing that you can learn in an MBA program, it's how to build human relations. How do you attract people to find yourself worthy of what they're looking for? How do you sell yourself, be it in an interview, be it in a corporate presentation, or be it in a startup reaching out for funding? That is the most important fact that does not have the science or does not have technology all the time. It has a lot of human nuances that you learn throughout your MBA, experiencing all the great opportunities that an MBA program offers you.
Thanks, Dheeraj. There are some user queries. So one user says that he wants to know about the life at FMS.
I think there's one thing I can say about life at FMS is it's more personalized and experiential in nature. A lot of B schools place a lot of emphasis on rote learning and academics, whereas at FMS we have a lot of focus upon experiential learning and industry exposure. So I, for instance, did almost 4 internships while I was at MBA. But they were part-time internships because we were in Delhi. We could have access to a lot of corporates. We could do off-campus internships. We could reach out to corporates, and that allowed me to make up my mind that what exactly is it that I want to do in my life. Such opportunities are very unique to the curriculum and framework of the MBA at FMS Delhi, I would say. The second I will say is the small batch size at FMS allows you to be close and proximity to your batchmates. It allows you to make friends in your senior and junior batches. It allows you to know people very closely, which is not possible in a larger batch size, which a lot of these schools are having nowadays. So that is something very special at FMS, that you make a lot of good bonds with people and you make a lot of close bonds, of course, with faculty as well. You have to remember that the faculty at FMS is something that is the holding pillar of all the excellence that FMS has been delivering for almost 70 years now. The kind of knowledge, the kind of network, the kind of experiences that they have, that you learn from them, is something very unique that happens only at FMS.
Yeah, plus the B school competitions, FMS is known for excelling at the B school competitions. One advantage that we have is the academic rigor at FMS is slightly less as compared to the top B schools because they have the trimester system, we have the semester system. So that gives us advantage in the field that people from FMS can devote more time towards these things like B school competitions, internships. As you said, there are people who are able to do multiple internships, and the location of the institute, that's the best part, isn't it? I mean, you have access to a lot of corporates, and one good thing that our alumni club, right, our e-cell, we have an entrepreneurship cell. So all these things are some things that make FMS unique, and that's why it is one of the best in the country. Okay, so there are certain questions that uh, okay, so preparation experience in brief. Okay, so let's answer this query also. Preparation in brief. That how did you prepare for CAT and interviews and all?
So I think the first and foremost important factor here is that you identify what are the areas that you're strong at and what are the areas that you're weak at. So the first thing is you try to strengthen areas that you are good at so that you get the maximum scores at those areas. Give a lot of mocks, ensure that you're consistently tracking your mistakes and correcting them. A lot of mistakes that a lot of candidates make is they give a lot of mocks, but they do not spend enough time analyzing their mistakes and they continue to make the same mistakes. That I'll say is the biggest and the most common mistake that most candidates make. Especially in times like these, then there are a lot of online platforms, online resources that are available at your disposal, wherein you can give a lot of mocks online and get a lot of analysis and feedback from a lot of mentors and coaches that are available on platforms online. That is the biggest focus that should be there. The second is for areas that you're weaker at, you have to identify what are the subsets and what are the topics within those weaker areas that you want to absolutely leave, that you cannot improve, and what are the areas that you think with the subjects that where you can improve yourself and by just putting in efforts. It's important that the hours that you put into your CAT preparation is the single biggest determining factor of how well you score them. There is no alternative to the number of hours that you put in your preparation. That is something that I will say.
Okay, so we have a few more queries. There is a guy, Rohit. He says that, sir, should I choose job or masters after bachelor's? Okay, I don't know why he wants to ask it, whether he want to pursue entrepreneurship, or let's take it. Suppose he wants to pursue entrepreneurship. So what is your call? Should
So
one?
I'll say the thumb rule that I generally advise is, if you have excellent academics and if you have worked a lot and gained a lot of experiences throughout your college in terms of internships, in terms of college societies, NGOs, and you feel that you are confident, you have the communication and leadership skills that are required in a human being to become a good leader, then you can definitely try and go for an MBA right after your bachelor's. But if you feel that throughout your 4 years in engineering or bachelor's, whatever you did, most of the time you were chilling and you did not gain enough experiences in life, it's extremely important that you go for a job in that case. Same is the case for people who do not have good academics, because work experience would somehow compensate not just on the admission scoring, but also in your overall profile. It would allow you to be a better candidate for most B schools and for most companies.
Okay, so there are a few more queries related to FMS. One is that the global recognition it has and the exchange programs.
So the global recognition that FMS has is universal, because you have to remember that it's the degree that FMS provides is Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi. That's what written at the degree. So
Yeah.
all 200 countries in the world that recognize India as a country also recognize the degree provided by University of Delhi's Faculty of Management Studies. That is something I can guarantee to you. So if you're going to North Korea, probably your degree will not be recognized. But for most other countries in the world, your degree is recognized as a valid master's degree. As for the
Yeah.
exchange programs, there are a lot of opportunities available for short-term exchange programs during the month of June and July that we see a lot of students go for. So the FMS Scholastic Council provides you a lot of programs that you can pursue if you have interest to go abroad. It does not get inculcated in the scores and curriculum of the program, but it is used as more of a tool for global exposure by the college.
Yeah. So there are some exchange programs. We have several societies, the Scholastic Council, the Alumni Cell, and also they do offer such opportunities. Although that is not, there's not, as you said, that is not a part of curriculum, but yes, that would give you a global exposure and that would add to your CV. Okay, so like you said that your MBA really helped you in your entrepreneurship program as well. So, can you throw some light about your entrepreneurship journey? How is it going thus far, and things like that?
So honestly speaking, if I'll tell you, the first thing that you start as an entrepreneur is that you think that you'll change the world. And then as you move forward, you realize that the world is ready to change you. So that's what also happened with us in the first year. That's in 2017 when we started Regraduate. We had a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm, and we figured out that probably the inclination and the products that we were services we were offering were not something that people were very willing to take. And that's really hit us. It really hits your confidence, it really hits your passion, it really hits you in many ways that you can imagine. More than monetarily, it hits you in the way that you think, but it also allows you, anything that hits you hard also allows you to grow. So from 2018 onwards, we decided to change our offerings. We decided to mold our services according to market needs. We decided that there are a lot of demand for B2B advisory services in the market for companies as well as educational institutions. And that's where we continue to ensure that we're not stuck with a bent of mind that this is what I want to provide, so I'll only do this. As an entrepreneur, the biggest mistake that we make is that we fall in love with our idea, and we think that this is some marriage made in heaven, that you have to stick to your idea. That I feel, after 1 year of sticking to our ideas and beliefs, that is not a good thing. You have to be open to new ideas. You have to be open to what your clients are telling you, what your customers are telling you. If they feel that there are some things that you need to change, you must always be willing to pivot You must always be willing to change your offerings and ideas according to market needs. Especially in this pandemic, we are seeing, well, we were a more of an offline service provider. We are now rebuilding Regraduate, we're rebuilding our online tech platform. And I think that is part of the entrepreneurship journey. You think something, you experiment it in the market, and you change the product offerings based on the market response. The only thing that you have to make sure is do not take negative feedback from the market to heart. It's perfectly fine. Failures are common. That's part of the entrepreneurship journey.
Okay. Thanks, Ritesh, for this talk. Right, it was good to hear about your experience at FMS, your experience post FMS, how you started your entrepreneurship journey, and we wish that your organization continues to grow and you have a successful venture. And so it was nice talking with you, and I hope our students got also some points for motivation, how to prepare for the examination, what the reality about the B school life, that it is not easy as it seems from outside, and what are the challenges that you get post MBA as well. So as some people, as you rightly said, that the only place where life is set for people is at the deathbed. So it's if someone has decided that they want to pursue MBA, and that is something where the rat race begins, and it's forever, right? It never stops. But you have to be positive. You have to take things. You have to learn things from your mistakes of the past, of the present, and continue to move on. So thanks, Ritesh, for this for being with us, and we hope to invite you on more such occasions.
Thank you so much, Pranav. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All the best to all your viewers.